Hi guys, welcome to Whiskey Newspaper. I'm here with Billy Walker. Billy, huge pleasure to see you once again.
Nice to see you.
The dinner event last night was lovely, and we got to sample the core line, and then we had the 35, which was a nice treat. So Billy, one of the things you mentioned last night, you were breaking down a cask into its core components, in terms of the micro, the cellulose and various stuff. Can you just describe to the audience what are the various compounds that we would find in a cask and how they influence the flavour, per se?
Yeah, look, the one thing about an oak cask is how fascinating the actual chemistry of the cask is, and how important the contribution to the cask can be in terms of flavours. And a lot of that, it's important to understand how we achieve these different flavours. Essentially, the structure of the cask is made up of celluloses, hemicelluloses, lignins, lipids and tannins. And all of these components play an important part in how the structure of flavouring actually happens. But to achieve that, there are other things going on that actually are a catalyst to delivering the kind of experience we're looking for. When you're making a cask, you toast it and then you char it. And when you're toasting the cask, that process starts breaking down the structure of the wood into celluloses. Will give you sugars like fructose, sucrose, arabinose, xylose. The lignins start giving you cinnamon products, and a lot of these are terpenes, isoeugenol, very, very important part of the component. And of course, the tannins also, although they don't contribute a lot in flavour, they actually contribute in terms of the depth of mouthfeel. They also have a very important role to play in actually mopping up some of the free radicals that give you these kind of fiery notes in whiskey. So once you get the process of toasting start breaking down and creating these molecules, then we char. The charring process then actually starts caramelizing the sugars. You get coffee notes, you get treacle notes, and also it kind of accelerates the breakdown of the lignins. So you start getting cinnamon notes, nutmeg. I mean, fascinating spicy notes. So, understanding, first of all, the kind of genus of the oak and how different they are and the different experience you can get. And, as I said last night, people keep asking me, is blending, is it an art or a science? In my opinion, it's experience, it's instinct. But if you understand the chemistry, and I'm lucky enough to be a chemist, science will explain everything.
Yeah, you started off with like almost pharmaceuticals, painkillers,
Yes.
And by luck you had a good mentor, and then you entered your way into whiskey. When it comes to choosing casks, what is a good cask, what is a bad cask, and how involved are you when in that selection?
Well, 100% involved in the selection. Our kind of start line is we are not obsessed with consistency. We're obsessed with pursuit of perfection. So we're in a period in the industry where the availability of different styles of oak casks is fascinating. We're buying casks virtually from all over the world, from Russia, from Mongolia, from Japan, of course, South America, Colombia. Lots of very interesting genuses in the United States. Lots of interesting genuses in Europe, and importantly, the Scottish virgin oak is fantastic.
Yeah.
Of all the virgin oaks, these are the ones. Scottish is the ones that I really, really like working with.
So you mentioned the toast and then the char. Now, when it comes to bourbon, do they just straight char the cask, or do they do the same?
Well, they do the same. I mean, as well as actually contributing to the kind of structural decomposition, you have to actually toast it in the cask to make the stave bendable. So it's important in actually constructing the cask. The actual charring process, and of course, sherry casks are not charred, wine casks are not charred. The reason we char, the women started the charring process, is a quicker absorption of the whiskey actually into the core of the wood, where all of these flavour components are residing.
And also, it converts some of the chemicals, right? So into their final.
Yeah, I mean, and then we're moving on to the actual chemistry of what's happening during maturation, extracting components, flavour components from the oak. But in the process, at the same time, the alcoholic strength of the whiskey is changing, so the solution characteristic of the whiskey is changing. So it's constantly talking to the components of the wood and saying, I've changed my solution character, so you can now come into solution. And that goes on, and that's why aging is such an important part of the structure and the maturation process.
Oh, absolutely. So what I'll say is I love Glenallachie. I love the innovation that you bring, the various wood styles. I had a lot of fun last night. But I must go back to Glendronach. And the reason why I just want to ask you is I have a lot to thank to Glendronach because, you know, as soon as I got into the whiskey, I went straight to the single cask, 2692 PX. And you know, when you bought the distillery, when it wasn't really known, and then you saw you inherited all of these amazing old casks, I mean, how did you feel? Was it a great feeling? And, you know, what did you do? Just go around trying them all?
Of course, we actually had a look at all the casks. We wanted to fingerprint all of the casks, see the direction of travel, where they might be used, when they might be used. Listen, Benriach was an amazingly nice distillery to acquire. But a small distillery, you know, it could only produce about 1,000 litres. But actually, spending time understanding what we inherited was a big challenge, but an enjoyable challenge. But there were issues. There was a big gap in the Glendronach inventory.
Yeah, mothballed, wasn't it?
Yeah, and managing our way, navigating our way around that was interesting.
And so, all of your previous experience that you've had in your career, how has that made you better at what you do at Glenallachie, you know? Because anyone can just come in with some theory, but what is it about you and all those years of trying whiskey that makes you so much better at, say, you know, the blending? What is it that your skill is, I'd say, over the competition? Because a lot of people are singing your praise, you know, so...
Listen, in many ways, the first experience with Benriach was the first real challenge, understanding inventory and trying to understand the personality of the whiskey we wanted to create from new fill and what we inherited and how we can actually eventually equilibrate these. And that really was about determining essentially what we wanted to do with the new fill, what kind of cask we wanted, what DNA we wanted to achieve. Then was taking the inherited inventory and using casks that we believed would deliver the kind of profile we were creating with the new fill.
Absolutely.
And that kind of kicked on into Glendronach. We're confident that the kind of routes we were going down, we're going to achieve the potential of what we thought existed. We did the same with Glenallachie. So when Glenallachie came along, there was no nervousness about the acquisition. We knew exactly the kind of journey we had to start out on. And actually it's taken us, in truth, we're now into our 8th year of ownership. I think we finally have got to the point where we're almost there.
That's incredible. And so just to summarise 2 things, what in your whole career, or, you know, what has been 1 or 2 of the most memorable whiskies you ever tried?
So I spent some wonderful years at Hiram Walker, Valentine's. I have to say, we made some wonderful blended whiskey at Valentine's. I still think Valentine's is right up there as a blended whiskey. In terms of single malts, difficult to say because, you know, I've been involved with Glendronach, involved with Deans and Coleman Morey. But I would have to say some of the the really creative work we're doing this now with Glenallachie. And I think the 17-year-old Misanaro Oloroso release, I think it's the best whiskey I've ever put together.
That's incredible. For the audience, although we did sample it last night, could I try a little bit on camera with yourselves? Would that be okay? Okay, so Billy's kindly offered to show me one whiskey. So yeah, lead the way on this one.
So this is interesting. It's a combination, a very interesting combination of French virgin oak and Oloroso sherry casks. Why did we choose French virgin oak? Fascinated by the intensity of the spiciness of the virgin oak, and we thought actually it would marry beautifully with the Oloroso influence, and in truth it has. We bottled this, it's part of the Sinteis series. It's Sinteis number 3. It's bottled at 57, totally comfortable in the palate. And what are we picking up flavour-wise? Of course, got a lot of spiciness, nutmeg, cinnamon, hints of cloves. Of course, the sherry is giving you layers and layers of dark chocolate, mocha, dates and figs. And of course, there's underlying layers of vanilla, butterscotch and honey. Complex, wonderfully complex. And at this strength, totally comfortable in the palate.
Sounds incredible. I'd love to try a small drop to refresh the memory. Thank you so much. Wow, so expressive on the nose. You got your lot of caramel, treacle as well. Lovely sweet oak, raisin, dark fruits. Very expressive, very nice. Oh my goodness me. Oh my God.
Complex.
So giving, so delightful, and yet so well married in together. The components are working together nicely. I like that. Oh wow, that's lovely. I'm really happy to try this. No, thank you.
Thank you.
And just before we go, obviously, please press like on the video if you're enjoying this. What does Billy Walker? What whiskey would he have on an evening? Hey, Tony, nice to see you. On an evening, you're relaxing. What are your go-to whiskies?
Well, the easy one to go to be with Glenallachie, 15-year-old.
Yes, I love that one.
But if I'm in a challenging mood, I would definitely go to the 17-year-old Misanaro.
Incredible. Billy, it's been such an honour to see you again. And subscribe to Whiskey Newspaper. And thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Support Glenallachie as well. They're doing incredible work. Thank you.